there may be a piece of writing advice that you are following right now that is the source of your lack of writing productivity and the source of your story's core problems. Now, this writing advice isn't the one I'm about to tell you, but it stems from what I'm about to tell you. The idea is we don't have to write chronologically. People like Christopher Nolan have proven this. I myself prefer non-chronological stories. The stories that we can jump around, we can follow the protagonist 20 years ago and we can follow them now. We can see how their past are reflecting their future and current events in ways that are really interesting and that move the plot forward. We don't have to go from chapter 1 and page 1 to page 2. We can jump from chapter 1 to chapter 41, from chapter 1's page 1 to chapter 41's page number 3. We can jump all over the place, and as long as you're keeping track of this, where you are chronologically, and we can do this with note cards if you want, you can have scenes if you can figure out where they are, kind of like your classic The Office storyboards. But this is something that isn't the problem, but it is creating a myth for writers that I think is the problem. And we can use this to discover the problem that I think might be ruining your story right now, as it has done to mine in the past. And another piece of writing advice that I think will bring in to the equation to really show you what's going on here is the idea of, if you are not excited by what you're writing, if you're not entertained, are you not entertained? Like from Gladiator, are you not entertained? If we are not entertained by our own stories, then how can the reader be entertained? And this is a piece of writing advice that I really like, because there is the idea of writing for market and writing for yourself. And I think for me, I try to balance both of those. I'm writing for market, I'm writing for people who want to read my stories. It's so impactful to see someone actually read your stories and enjoy it, whether it's a beta reader, whether it's the people on New York Times like actually seeing and being like, oh, this is a great book, and now it's on New York Times bestseller list, all of these things, really, it all stems from enjoyment of you, the writer, and the reader simultaneously. And I think a lot of it comes from, if you're enjoying it, the reader's going to enjoy it. And that's where that very seasoned psalm of, or proverb rather, of writing advice comes from. But when we look at these two different, I think, correct writing pieces of advice, where you can do non-chronological storytelling and jump from wherever excites you to the next, and if you're not excited, your story's not going to be good and resonate with the reader. These two things, if we put them together, we can really see, we can shatter those rose-colored lenses and realize what one of the modern problems is for most creative writers in our current day and age, and I think something that people in the past have struggled with as well, and that is a lack of excitement in story. If we are being told these two different contradictions of a sort, where we can jump from whatever excites us to, if you're not excited by your story, theoretically in its entirety, then your reader might not be as well. So this raises one problem. If we are not excited, our readers are not excited. And if our readers aren't excited, it's not a very good book. It's not performing well. And so the problem that I see with our modern generation, our modern day and age of creative writers, is that there is not an enjoyment of both the craft and story of creative writing, from not only section to section, part to part. This climax is going to be incredible to write, I'm sure it is, but also scene to scene, because there is one question, just like that one problem that is ruining your story, that I think can solve this. And that problem that we're seeing is a lack of excitement in your own story. And this is, we get into writing because we enjoy it so much. Rarely do we say, we're going to set out and we're going to write the next bestseller. More often we're like, this is so enjoyable, I want to write more of this. This is engaging. As we go along, we drink the Kool-Aid of the creative writer, the authorpreneur, and we realize that we have to satisfy the reader as well. And a lot of times that comes as a challenge. We start to treat writing more as a job, and that's a good thing. That adds some rigidity to it. It makes us better writers. We pound out all the bad words and we start getting out good words. We're able to refine our work, but at the same time, we start to lose that glamour, that love for creative writing. And I think a big thing that we need to start prioritizing again as we take kind of that dip and come back up is prioritize the enjoyment hand in hand with that proactivity and productivity. And so the one question that we can ask to solve this problem is the question of, how can I be excited towards every single scene in my book? How can I make myself excited with this most boring of portions of my story? Because if it's boring to you, it's going to be boring to the reader, usually. And so that is my tip for today, is ask yourself, how can I make this scene more important? And I do have one way that I'm going to share throughout the rest of this video of how you can do that, how I do it practically. And yeah, so let's get on that tip number one for how to make every single scene more engaging, more gripping, and exciting for you yourself as the author and creator, and thus exciting the reader. All right, so whether or not you have drank the entrepreneurial Kool-Aid, you want to make your scenes exciting. And so I'm going to teach you how to do that really quickly. There is another Kool-Aid that we need to talk about as well, and that Kool-Aid is Thomas Umstattd Jr. in his non-marketing podcast had a wonderful episode recently on marketing with AI, and he opened the episode with there are lines being drawn in the battle. People are taking up their swords and spears and their nukes, and they are fighting hand in hand with each other or across continents over the idea of AI, whether we should be creating books with it, whether we should be establishing, laws on book covers. Should we design book covers with AI? I am a very scant AI author. I do not use AI to write any of my stories content. I seldom use it to do anything outside of occasional. It can be really good if you're training it, if you're using a paid model typically, to do line edits, like Pro Writing Aid. That's an AI technically. There's all these different things that I think are more ethical, and I'll do a video in the future on ethical AI usage. But one of the advantages that I see for even the most conservative AI authors is the ability to use something like ChatGPT. Specifically, it's projects model. You can use it with a normal model, of course, but its memory is going to be a little bit less. It'll still do the job right. But I think the best way to use AI, and ChatGPT specifically in this example, is actually to get yourself excited about a chapter again, get yourself excited about writing something. And so what I've been doing is actually, when I start a chapter, typically, I will actually spend about 15 minutes, and I'll set a timer actually. It'll be going so I can see it, and I will literally just, it works best if I'm actually putting words from the chapter currently. Like, I was excited about this scene, now I'm moving into the chapter's next scene. Not excited about this too much, so I'll be like 15 minutes, I'm gonna put everything I have in here, put my ideas for the scene, and be like, okay, make me excited about this. And the thing is, with ChatGPT does a terrible job of this, and that's because it oftentimes will not put out anything that is nearly complete. It tends to be very edgy in all the wrong ways when it comes to coming up with story ideas, and that isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think that's wonderful, because what that does is oftentimes it'll have one answer that might be awesome out of 100, and you can use that. Yeah, you're like, okay, that's cool, it struck a chord with me. But then oftentimes you'll have the other 99 which are not so good. But what happens is it's kind of like a writer's room where you're throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks. And the typical adage of a writer will figure out a story problem if they just are able to talk and monologue with a room of people, or a single person. They'll figure it out with themselves, for themselves. AI is a good example of how we can do this properly. And even with those bad answers, we can go ahead and be like, oh, that's dumb, but this isn't as dumb. And we go ahead and we can write that. And that's what I've been doing recently. It has made my writing process way more enjoyable. So I actually have a AI model that I built. It is designed to have the personality of Kelsier from Mistborn. It is also trained on the videos of Jed Hearn, all the lectures of Brandon Sanderson. Yeah, that's all of them. The writing model is called, or the AI model rather, is called, I think I call it Kelsier Jed Sanderson Writing Coach. You can find that on ChatGPT, even if you have the free model, free version. And it works really well, because oftentimes AI will spit out a bunch, like pages upon pages, when you're like, what's a good character name? It's like, okay, what is the history? And so what I did was I was like, okay, you're more real, you're more personal. It'll try to do like 200 words and have a practical question to where you can actually go into it and like plot out a story with yourself, where it's actually just asking logical questions and then compiling all the information from your answers into one place so that you can understand that better. So it really is just a brainstorming partner that asks questions. It's very Socratic, trained on the Socratic method. And so if you want that, I'll have that link in the description below. If you are a writer who wants to be more productive, be able to write more, wants to be able to maybe write 1,000 words plus on a daily basis, or if you just want to be the kind of writer who is going to have a bunch of books down the line, who's going to be in their 70s, still crafting stories, still, chugging away on the writing path, and actually still enjoying the process and not, feeling very, very depressed from the writing, feeling, like they're not getting stuff done. I would want to recommend, a little self-plug here, I made a 7-day email course, which is completely free, which is how to write 1,000 words a day effortlessly, and it is all about how to write 1,000 words a day. It trains you in a week how to write 1,000 words a day, more enjoyably, more effective, and it is just something that really focuses on toning in on enjoying the craft while still being productive and striking that balance between productivity, enjoyment, and quality work that can be refined for fast drafts and high quality drafts. So if that sounds interesting, that'll be linked in the description below. And to all of you who just, have actually interacted on this channel in the past, who are still here, thank you. If you're new, thank you so much for watching this video. You are very, very committed, and you're unlike your peers because you've been able to get to the end of this video. So I hope you enjoy writing more because of this video. And so until next time, blessings. It'd be so funny if I didn't hit record. Oh, I did.